right, golfers, it's Dalton again. Welcome back to the 19th hole. We took a month off here. We're back now. Now I wanted to start this thing off by telling y'all to tell us happy anniversary. This is our year-long project of getting this thing back off the ground, relaunching this. This is our eighth, I believe it's our 8th and 19th hole. We're coming up on our 1-year anniversary, and I wanted to thank all of y'all for sending in your videos and your questions. That's the reason we're successful, guys, is because y'all are asking the questions and give us a forum to answer them. We've got a lot of things coming up this next year. If you've been following our website, you can see that the E Academy is just about ready, and I'm really looking forward to that. That's where we're going to get to be able to go in there and put videos in there and answer questions. We don't really have to be formal with it like we're doing here. We can just get right down to the nitty-gritty and really answer some questions, and I can say anything I want to say. That's what I'm really looking forward to. So before we get going, I just want to say thank y'all and welcome. We got a new year going. We're going to start this off by looking at a new Chris. Don't confuse this with the old Chris from last time we were doing this with he had the flying, he had the V at the top of his backswing. This new Chris has got the flying elbow, the chicken wing. For most of y'all, it's probably from playing another sport, mostly baseball, when you pick your arm up on the backswing. And we're going to go out to the driving range a second and take a really good look at the chicken wing.
Golfers, I've shot this several times trying to explain this flying right elbow to you. But let me do this one more time here. Let's take a close look at this. What you're doing when you fly that right elbow up at the top of your backswing, it's kind of like baseball when you're watching A-Rod. He's standing like that. When the baseball is out there, you've got time to get that back in before you release, but you don't have time to do that with golf balls over here. But how you do this is your first motion ought to be a one-piece takeaway. And what you're doing when you fly that right elbow is your first motion is right there. You stick that elbow straight out right there. And then from there, just spread it. And now you got your arms that far apart. And you were this far apart as a dress. And you're supposed to be the same. You fly your arms that far apart and think that you can get it back together and release by the time you get at the bottom. Golfers, you can't do that. And it's even worse what y'all do when you're with a driver. With a driver, y'all fly that elbow way up there. My Lord, you're never going to get that back together in time to pop. So what you do is you practice taking the golf club back with your left hand. And golfers, it's just you're cocking this way, straight up and down. Just take your golf club, take your one-piece takeaway and cock a left hand. Let that right arm hang right there. It's a whole lot easier for you to get it back in. And I promise you, you'll play out of the right tree line a whole lot less. I promise.
All right, golfers. Now that we're back in the studio, I got a little excited. Usually I show you what the golfer's doing before we go out to the driving range. So we're going to look at it now, and I'll show you what Chris is actually doing, give you a better example of what you just got through looking at. So let's take a look at Chris's swing here. As you can see here, he's setting up. He's really got a pretty nice setup. He's been listening to me. He takes the club straight back in his one-piece takeaway for almost a foot. And then here comes the flying elbow chicken wing. And this is very typical of a lot of you strong guys, especially the ones that play baseball. You flared your right elbow up at the top of your backswing in baseball, and you do the same thing. Chris is trying his best to keep the club face square here, but he's cocking his right hand instead of his left hand. But he's going to get to the top up here, and he's going to make that change. And he's going to go ahead and cock his left hand over the top of his shoulder right at the very end here. But you can see he's got his arms spread apart because he's got his right elbow up in the air and out so far from his pocket. So when he comes down, you can tell right quick he can't get the elbow back in. And that means, guys, whatever you're doing, if you incorporate something in your backswing that's not supposed to be there, you got to unincorporate it on the way down to get it out. Otherwise, you're not going to be back where you were when you started and be able to take a divot. Chris spreads his arms out. He's doesn't have a chance to get them back unless he's swinging exceptionally slow. He won't be able to get his golf club back down to the ball. It'll be above the ground, and he'll hit the ball right in the equator, which he does a lot. So guys, remember, don't add anything into the swing that doesn't need to be there, because you got to take it out before impact. Remember that. Now moving along here, we're going to look at some divots. David Craven sent in a request wanting to know about divots. He's had the tapes quite a while, hits most of his shots straight. We appreciate that, David. But he says that some of his divots are going left. And he wanted to know what in the world, why is the divots going left? No, he didn't send in the video, so we're not going to have to show you one. So let's go back out to the driving range and let me get a little bit more in depth with you and show you divots and what they look like and why they're caused on the driving range.
Golfers, I believe it was David Craven asked me about divots. He said that his divots could start off pretty straight and then kind of turn to the left. David's been doing this swing now for quite some time. And there's a couple of reasons why that happens. It's another reason why I'd rather you send in a video. I can pick these things out real quick, show them to you, go in slow motion. Me telling you, you're going to have to figure it out which one of them it is. But here's a couple of them for you, okay? What you're supposed to do is have your arms the same width at address as you have them at the top of your backswing. If you spread, whatever you do back there, you have to undo coming down, and if you don't do it, your arms will do that, and if you do, you'll curve the toe of the club over to the left coming through it. Divot will start off straight, and it'll move left. Another one is if you don't have your elbows pointing in, if you've got your elbows pointing out, and you're right-handed too much and you overpower, it'll bend that arm right there, and when that does, that'll take it left. That'll make your divot turn a little bit left. And what you're also trying to do is throw the club up to center field so you get straight golf shots. If you turn your peripheral vision right at impact and look up, you'll throw the toe of the club at shortstop instead of center field. That'll turn it. That's just a couple of them, guys. Send in a video and we'll figure out which one of them you're doing.
All right, guys, back in the studio here. That's about all you need to know about divots. I got to share with you here. I was asked how I learned all this, where I started learning all this, what books I was reading. You watch golf on television now, and you see all this stuff about technology. These new fangle-dangle technology teachers. It's not that I don't appreciate what they're trying to learn. You just don't need it. But I was asked what books I read when I started this, and understand it took me 30 years to go through all this crap. But I learned the laws of the golf swing. I studied that. I studied the 5 easy, simple steps to the perfect golf swing. I read that. Harvey Pink's Little Red Book. I read that. The 8 Traits of a Champion. I read that. Golf Ching. I read that. I got so many notes in this book, I wouldn't give this one away for anything. And then, of course, I read Hogan's 5 Lessons of Modern Fundamentals of Golf. And what you do when you're learning all this stuff, guys, is you learn what you don't need to talk about and don't need to share with students. Then I read Byron Nelson's Golf My Way after he won 11 straight tournaments. And this book is 186 pages. And it's basically 48 pages of pictures and 1 cotton-picking paragraph explaining it on each one of them. That's pretty simple, guys. This showed me right here what I don't need to talk to y'all about, that you don't need to know. And that's what a lot of these teachers are talking about, all this technology today that you hear over and over and over on television. And as soon as they gather all this information in over the next 10 or 15 years like I did, then they'll realize what they don't need to talk to you about. And that's a good thing, guys. I'm trying my best to help you not go through what I've gone through. And with that in mind, I'm going to leave you with just one more thought here, guys. And until next month, we're going to talk about putting. So if you've got some questions about that, ask. And let me leave you with this one thought.